Now we're live. Well, let's wait for the sirens to stop.
What sirens?
There's some police sirens
Oh,
going
on your
off.
side.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining. We have a couple people live with us right now. And at any time, you can jump in and ask questions. I'm so happy to have here Randy, who I've
Hello.
known for a while. We've known each other for I said to Randy that he'll probably need to be the one to talk about how we met and stuff because he remembers it more than I do, even though my memory is far better.
Yeah, I have a terrible memory.
But how long have we known? For at least 10 years.
It's
At least
10?
10
Yeah,
years.
about, I think 09, maybe? Oh eight,
I
oh
know
nine.
that yeah, I know that we were seeing each other in 09. I don't
Mhm.
know when we actually met, though.
Yeah, it might have been like early 09 or
Yeah.
late 08.
So that's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a super long time. 1 second, I'm just gonna jump in the chat. Okay. So the reason that I wanted to do this is because I'm crazy. And I actually really wanted to do this because I think that we're all here to connect with people. We're all here because we really want to show love and to receive love. And it's really hard for us to kind of do an assessment on how we were as friends and boyfriend and girlfriend, even. And I thought it would be a really good exercise for me to do this with Randy on YouTube Live in front of anyone who wants to see and hear it, and just have a vulnerable moment and just allow people to just give people permission to also be vulnerable too and share your experiences. And if not only in this chat, then you can do it in the private Facebook community that I have. It's called Alanna Heavenly Community. I'll link it below as well. But I'd really like to hear everyone's experiences on their relationships and how they feel that what their part was in the relationship and how they feel that they can improve. Because if you have this like grand relationship in your mind, that is great. But in order to get to that point, there are certain steps that you have to take for yourself to improve yourself in order for you to be ready for that type of relationship. Um, if I was the same person I was 15 years ago, then there would be no way that I could handle the types of relationships that have been coming into my life recently. So just ask in terms of growth, in terms of like maturity, in terms of just self-reflection and self-love. I think this is an excellent practice. Probably not to do it on YouTube Live, but to do it privately. I think it's a really important thing to do. I think some people end relationships and try to forget all about the relationship and don't consider the lessons that they've learned. And I think that's a mistake because we're all here to teach each other.
Yeah,
To
to
teach
learn
each
and to
other
grow as well.
yeah, to grow. And yeah, we can teach each other through love. We can teach each other through disliking each other, which is also some form of love. And it's just, I think self reflection is important. So what kind of gave me this idea is, hold on, I'm pulling up the book name. I had it open and then it closed.
Unprepared.
Unprepared. Okay, the book is The Game of Desire by Shan Boodram, and she's a sexologist. So the reason why she proposes doing this is just to prepare for your dating life and everything. I'm not doing this in preparation for dating life. I'm doing it for self-reflection and improving oneself. So
why aren't you preparing for dating life then?
well, you know,
Oh, I
that's
can ask
another
questions, right?
topic.
I'm sorry. I can ask questions.
That's another topic.
Okay. I apologize.
You know, whatever comes up, but like, I'm not doing this for the purpose of finding a man. I'm doing this for me. And because I like torturing myself. So again, the name is The Game of Desire by Shannon Boodram. So we're going to take some questions from her book, and then we're also going to come up with some questions for ourselves. It's all going to be very polite, respectful, and loving. Reminder, Randy. And if I don't like the questions, I'm going to end this.
Yeah, you probably would, honestly.
Okay. How did we meet, Randy? Let's give people some background.
Well, we met through your last guest, which was Shannon. I went to school with her in White Plains, New York. We both went to the same school. I believe she had like a get together at one point, and she invited a couple people from her class that she thought was like really cool that she got to know. And
Nikki
you were her
had to
roommate.
get together.
Huh?
Nikki had to get together. We went to someone else's house party, and that's where we met.
Someone else's house party? Was that the when it was like the Michael Jackson house party?
Yes.
It was that. That was when we first met, or was it? Oh, could have been. Yes. Yes, I do believe that was when we first met. But then she had a little party herself afterwards, at some point.
Yeah.
And that's when we really got to know each other from then.
Yes. And then it's been amazing ever since. We dated for how long?
About 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Or a little over 3 years.
Yeah. And then we've been in communication like on and off. I feel like there were years that we didn't talk, but then recently we've been like,
I think right after we broke up, I want to say 3 years or so after that, we didn't talk at all. And I think I really used more of that time for like just to heal from the whole thing. And I'm pretty sure you healed from that as well. But I think it was a well-needed break, honestly.
Yeah, and then we like just started chatting like off and on. I don't know what triggered it, but like we've just.
I think you reached out to me.
Wow, you remember it all.
I think when you reached out to me was when I had moved to California. Like maybe the first week I moved to California. It was like, hey, how you doing? I was like, oh, I just moved to California. And you're like, you didn't believe me? I was like, oh, here, I'll show you the Google Maps. I was like, this is my location. Like,
that's funny. What else? What else do you think people need to know before we jump in with questions?
The majority of the relationship was fine. I think we had a pretty good. I think we both weren't at the time. Well, for me specifically, I definitely know I wasn't very mature in the relationship.
I wasn't either. That's for sure.
I want to say that we both weren't mature for the relationship. I think that led to a lot of not like head butting situations because like the majority of it I want to say was like really good. But we just weren't mature for the timing of it, really. And we both had like things that were going on that just didn't really give us the time because like I think I only saw you on the weekends. Like I never really saw you during the week because I had school and I had work at the same time. So like I feel like we never really got to spend as much time together as we should have. But that was really a whole timing thing. I think you were going through
We were both
trying
working
to
a
get a
lot.
job or something like that. I think
I
you
was working
just yes, you just got a new job, I believe.
I was working a lot. Um, you were working a ton as well. Our schedules were
Yeah,
just
yeah,
over the
it just
place.
never
And
matched.
your job was super physical as
Yeah,
well. So you were just exhausted.
yeah.
um, Someone asked, were we both spiritually awoke at the time? I was I was not.
No,
I I was no, not at all.
no.
I
I
was
think
like, go ahead. I was at the period where I was just completely suppressing all feelings and emotions. I wasn't in touch with myself whatsoever, which is why it's going to be so interesting to dig into these questions because I just did not know myself at all. I feel like I was just on acting based on what I saw from my mom and just thinking that that's what a relationship was, which is completely false and the wrong way to go about things. But that's just what I knew at the time. And so to answer your question, no. What's your answer?
me, I'm not like spiritually awoke or anything like that. I just live my life the way I feel like is the right and proper way to do it, or just to be kind and caring and loving. But at the time, like I said, I was very immature, so that really wasn't part of my whole situation.
But I remember when I don't remember what year this was in, but when you got your first Reiki healing, Shannon's mom gave
From Shannon's mom, yeah.
Randy his first Reiki healing. And I remember that I was like not into it at the time. I had never
Mhm.
received Reiki before.
Yes,
I didn't want to receive it. And Randy was like, I'll do it. And you had like a little awakening after that. You were like, I feel like you were looking at things through like different eyes. Like you
that
a
is
different
true.
purpose.
I do remember that. I actually do remember that because she
Mhm.
did it at the apartment, at your apartment. And I remember she was saying something like, I remember at the very end, she was like, something with the soles of my feet. Like a lot of my energy keeps going through the soles of my feet. Um, and I never really understood what she meant by that. She was always like, you should like meditate a lot more, which I never really did, which I probably should have done. But I definitely remember that being one of the main things that she said. Like a lot of your energy just keeps going through your feet for some reason.
Do you remember how you acted after the Reiki healing? Because I remember I was like, wow, he's fired up right now. Like you were just ready to just
To just go
explore
and like,
and like
yeah, I don't,
go ahead and like with your passions and everything. And
yeah,
it's like it moved around like this stifled energy that you had inside of you. And you were just ready to take action.
yeah.
Like you were like fearless almost.
That was definitely one of the things that did happen after that. And I
Mhm.
guess a lot of decisions I made after that was more based off of that. I think that was like one of the not the one of the main things to help me just move on and like get up and like do stuff. But I definitely feel like that helped, to like really push me in a way.
Mhm. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why I'm starting to do more videos like this, as opposed to the videos I had before when I was just trance channeling or like just channeling exactly what an ascended master or high being would say. I really am interested in integrating it with being more grounded and more practical things as well. Hold on, I need to cough. Um, I think it's really important as there's a lot of teachings out there in this world. And what I'm passionate about is getting people to know themselves and to love themselves, and to realize that you don't have to stay stuck in a position that like has you feeling like you're suffering, and just understanding your mind, your body, your soul, everything. That's what spirituality is to me. It's not about an organized religion at all. And trust me, I know a lot about that because I was raised a born again Christian. And so it's really about just mastering yourself and understanding yourself. So, yeah, going back to Randy's first Reiki experience, I feel like that was like a little awakening for you. And it's so funny that you were the one you experienced it first, because I was like, I'm not doing Reiki. And now I'm like a
Yeah.
Reiki master and I
Yeah,
give people Reiki.
Yeah, you were very opposed to it that first time
Yeah.
when it happened. Yeah.
It was so, yeah, I was super closed off then. I'm going to go to a question in this book.
Mm-hmm.
So the first question, and I haven't really looked at these questions. I just glanced at the first question. So I'm not prepared for this. And neither is Randy. He doesn't know what the questions are. So these are going to be our real reactions. The first one is, was I a good listener to you? Do you want to take this first? Or do you want me to?
Yes, you definitely were a good listener to me. A lot of when we went out and when we did things, you did always like remember like certain things. I wouldn't say I was a good listener at the time, but you definitely were a good listener. There were many gifts that you would give me. It was like, oh, like it was very shocking and surprising because I was like, oh, like this is something I wanted, but it's not something that like I always like would push out and be like, oh, could you get this for me or anything like that? Like I would like bring it up often, not often, but like I would bring it up maybe like once or twice, and then maybe you would like surprise me with it like a little later on down the line. And so I definitely would
like
say,
what? Do you have an example? I don't remember.
I remember you got me a game. I remember you got me God of War. I don't remember if it was for Christmas or my birthday. You got me a game that I only mentioned maybe like once or twice. And he was like, oh, like this is really nice. And you got
That's so nice of me.
Yeah, but I would say that you were definitely a good listener.
And do you want to expand more on if you were a good listener?
I feel like you should answer that question.
This is about self-reflection.
Self-reflection. I self-reflected on your part. So now you have to self-reflect on my part.
You can't self-reflect on it.
So do you believe that I was a good listener? I'm not sure if I was, to be honest with
you. Were you a good listener? So I felt like you listened to me, but I don't think you ignored me, but I don't know if you necessarily gave out like cues that you were listening, that you were receiving the information. I think you were listening, but it was let's see.
I do want to say again that our work really like hampered the relationship in a way because we were always like busy. So the times that we would talk to each other were mostly through text.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So in terms of listening, I think that you did listen. I think that we didn't always have space to receive everything. Like you for sure listened to me when you surprised me with PlayStation Move. We played video games a lot then. Like that was our way of like
like really connecting
and like getting rid of stress. Like when we weren't working, we would just play video games and stuff. But I think that you listened. I don't think that you were in the space to completely like receive all of that. That's what I feel.
I agree with that.
Did I speak your love language?
I don't even. It's a lot of reflecting that I've done. My love language, I don't fully grasp yet. To be honest with you, I don't know, these last few years have been really more of like reflecting on myself and like trying to make myself better. And one of that is like not fully knowing what my love language is or
Have you
has.
ever taken the test?
The love language test? Is that one of the tests that you gave me? That you sent me one time? I don't. Well, if it was one of the tests that you gave me one time, I remember you giving me one of the tests, and then it was like I kind of like aced it because it said like, "Oh, you're like the
that was something else.
Oh, that was something else.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember you gave me two of them, and I kind of like aced both of them. It was like I don't remember if either of them were the
no
one.
acing.
I aced those tests. The only reason why I'm saying I aced those tests is because like one of them was like, "Oh, you're like the perfect companion," because it was like I don't have. I don't
don't
like.
mean to laugh. I'm laughing at that because it's all relative. Like,
well, is it all relative? I remember you took the same test, but your test came out completely different.
No, it did. But I mean, how can you say you're the perfect companion? Perfect companion for who?
That's yes, it is
perfect
relative
companion for
that,
every single person on this earth.
But it was like I don't have anything that like really was like a red flag. I would say like, oh, you're not like jealousy. Like it was like I remember one of the questions being like, oh, like if your partner went out for a girls' night out with all her friends, like, are you going to be jealous? Like, are you going to end up like going after and seeing what she's going to do? Like, no, like I'm gonna leave her alone. Like I'll stay at my own house and like do my own thing. Mm-hmm. It's not something that like I feel like I have to be like on my partner 24/7. Like if she wants to go and do something, that's fine for her. Like I have no issues with that.
Okay. But that's different from love languages. So how do you feel like you receive love? I can answer the question first if
go ahead.
That's easier. Okay. So I had no clue what my love language was at the time. I thought that I just wanted gifts, that I wanted presents and people to spend money on me, and that would mean that they love me. That's what I thought. That's what I thought like was a sign that someone appreciated me, when someone spent money on me. So when people did not spend money on me, then I was like grumpy and just like, well, you don't really love me. That's honestly what I felt in my mind. It's so ridiculous. I don't feel that way anymore, of course, but that's what I just learned growing up. And so I think that that's something that you tried to do. I mean, we weren't making much money. Like we did what we could for each other in terms of gifts and everything. So that's what we did. But like, I'm always like, oh, I want to go on a cruise. I want to go on, like, I'm always like thinking big like that. Like I'm always just like, oh, let's go this place, that place. And I don't even think about like how to do it. I'm just like, oh, I know I just want to do this. And then
I do remember that. And I remember you being upset one time with me. I was like, well, I don't have the money for that. And you were like, no. I was like, well, I don't know what to do. We just weren't at the time making enough money.
But now I know my love language is words of affirmation. So I think it's super important to me, and it was important to me back then as well, but I didn't know it. It's important to me for someone to just be like a clear communicator. I mean, like, if you really appreciate me and love me, you can just say it with words, say it through a love letter, like just flat out say it to me, and I will so appreciate that. Like, that's really how I receive love in a really great way. And then also quality time and spending like one-on-one time together. Like I remember like there were instances when you would invite other people to like our outings, and I would get so pissed off, and I didn't know why I would get so pissed off about it. But it was because like I just wanted to spend time alone with you. Like I just that was my like love language, just spending quality time, like alone time together. And so I don't think either of us knew our love languages. Like I had
Yeah, I mean, to that, like, I like to spend time with like groups of people. I never knew about that until you said that not too long ago. I think we talked about this at one point, not too long ago, and like I remember you saying that. I was like, well, I never really thought of it that way. That like spending we did spend one-on-one time, and we did go out every once in a while. But for me, it was like I always like to like have like the energy of like other people with me. So that's probably why I always invited people along with our outings. But yeah, we did spend a good amount of one-on-one time. We did go out to dinner a couple of times, and then we would have dinner at the place every once in a while as well. Like we did have like one-on-one time with each other.
we had times, yes. There were times, yeah. I think mostly when I was like unprepared, I didn't know like, oh, there are gonna be other people around. That's when that would catch me off guard completely. Yeah. But in terms of words of affirmation, I think that we both could have like done a much better job with that, being really clear with our intentions. And I feel like we would just try to say things without saying them, and that's like probably the worst thing to do most of the time.
I agree with that.
Anything to expand on?
I don't think I still know what my love language is. I'm still growing. I mean, it's been years and years, but I still feel like I'm still growing on it. I still need to learn more things about myself and where I want to be and what I need to be for my next relationship. And I don't know. It's still just a growing process. And
I'm gonna make you take the tests later today.
Sure.
Someone asks, how is life for us now?
Oh, do you want to go first or should I go first?
You go.
Okay. For me right now, I'm trying to start to get back into the dating life. I think after our relationship ended, I kind of felt like the way it ended, I didn't feel like I was a good person. So I never felt like if I need to go into another relationship, if I was interested in somebody, I always went, oh, look at your last relationship and look what happened, and like look at yourself. Like you weren't very good in that last relationship, so I don't think you're good to be in another relationship. And that's the mindset I had for years, and years. So I
I've
never
never heard this. Is the first time I'm hearing this.
Huh?
Oh, I said this is the first time I'm hearing this.
Oh, yeah. So I think you're honestly like our relationship was the last relationship I ever had with another girl, like a physical or intellectual relationship or emotional relationship. Since then, like I've always thought like, oh, you're not good enough or you're not prepared, and I always thought, look back at your last relationship for years, and that mindset like really kind of damaged me in a way. More recently, I'm trying to do a lot better with that. I don't like putting myself out there because I don't want to be hurt again, and that's like one of the main issues of like something I need to get over to actually have another relationship going on. But for years, if I was interested in somebody, I always thought back like, oh, look at your last relationship, look how it ended, and look what you did. Like, do you think you've grown enough for another relationship? And I've always said no to myself. I've always said no.
Oh.
So it's been years. I think, was it 2013? About six, almost 7 years or so since I've actually been in a relationship, because my mindset was so messed up. More recently, I want to say within the last 2 years, I really started to like build up myself a little bit more. I really started to be more active and like trying to put myself out there and like try to actually better myself. By doing that, I mean like trying to get my headspace different, to start thinking differently and start like really I don't know, just trying to change the way that I think about myself. So I think one of the main things is like self-love. Like I didn't love myself after that. Like I didn't really think that like I was a good person. And for that whole mindset was really what messed me up. But now, like I said, like the last 2 years, I've really been starting to change. I'm really trying to learn to love myself more, to like really put myself out there and like really try to get back in like the dating life and stuff like that.
Thank you for like being so truthful and real and vulnerable. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you go through heartbreak and you automatically think that you're undeserving of love and that you're just a crappy person because you hurt someone's feelings or your feelings are hurt or vice versa. And the truth is that like we're all deserving of love in any state that we're in. Like we're all completely deserving. Whether you believe it or not is one thing, but
Yes, I think that
that
was really it.
But within like there is no like level that you need to reach in order to be deserving of love, because you already are deserving of love. Um, so that's one thing, sure. And what else? How did you let yourself grieve after things happened? Like, and what was that grieving process like?
Um, I think for me, my grieving process was just like trying to throw myself into work mostly. It was more trying to like get my mind off of it and like not really think about it really. That never really. I don't think that was like the best way to do it. Was to like just keep working, working, working. Because that kind of like built up a little bit of depression in me. Um, uh, I guess with depression, and then I started like I don't know. I don't think I really grieved that much right afterwards. It maybe took like a year or so when I really started like really reflecting on it and like really. I think the grieving process was like really reflection. It's like really, what did you do during the time? What happened? Like, how do you think you should change? But like I said, that never really helped me because I was like, oh, my mindset was always like, oh no, you didn't do such a good thing. You didn't you hurt someone's feelings. You hurt your own feelings. You just put yourself in a process. It was like I just didn't love myself. So it was like not loving myself kind of like closed me off, I would say. Um, but towards a relationship, I think the fact that like we didn't talk at all for like a good three plus years is really like my way of grieving, because it's like out of sight, out of mind was really my whole thing. Like if I didn't talk to her, like I wouldn't have to think about it, and then because like if I talked to you, I felt like I would have to think about the relationship and I have to play everything that I did wrong again and again and again in my mind. So for me, not talking to you was my grieving process. It was like, oh, okay, so it's more reflection on myself. Like, oh, I don't have to think about it. If I don't think about it, then I'll be fine. But like I said, that did kind of cause like depression throughout the years after that.
Yeah. When you cut off your thoughts and everything, it just bottles up inside and
Yeah.
it's going to come out some other way. It's so that brings me to I have some steps that I wrote down that I channeled about how to get over someone. But first, someone asked a question, do I have a message from Randy's higher self to give to him? And your higher self says, you're one, you're whole, you're already enough, you are perfect, and you don't have to change for anyone to receive love. You are already love itself, embodied in this physical form.
Thank
And
you.
yes, it has more to say, but we can talk about that offline.
Okay.
um, so I think one of the things that people want to do immediately when they break up with someone is to just try to cut off all feelings and emotions and forget that person ever existed, forget that relationship ever existed. And so what I have to say is that you cannot skip the grieving process. You can't just, that's not a process that you can skip over whatsoever. It's something, if you need to cry about it, cry. If you need to write angry words down to yourself, do that. If you need to write letters to this person and don't send them, just keep it in your journal, do that. Feel how you need to feel. And the sooner that you feel it, the easier that it will flow through you. And instead of causing blockages that will inevitably cause depression and anxiety and other things that start to manifest as a result of cutting off your feelings and emotions. So that's the first step, because I know people are like, oh, how do I get over someone quickly? It's like, you need to grieve. You need to feel those emotions. I think the first thing that people do, and I know that you can relate to this because you're a Cancer sun sign, is that they just close up like a crab. Do they just like close up their heart, and because their heart is broken and they don't want to feel anymore. But no matter what, try to keep it open. Try to keep those feelings open. And you don't want to be a cold, crabby person that's without a heart. Feelings are wonderful. Emotions are wonderful, even when you're hurt. That's why we're on earth, to feel and live life. So that's one thing. The next thing I would say is to think about, what did you receive from the person that you were with? And write down everything about what you received. Did you receive fun and laughter and excitement? Did you also receive like headaches? Like all the positive things and perceived negative things, write all of that down. And then also make a note of, out of all of the stuff that you received, what do you want to receive more of? What about that list do you want more of? What on that list do you feel that you're lacking now that that person is no longer in your life? So, and once you have that all down, and you need to be really real and authentic and honest with yourself about this. If this person was cooking you dinner every night, you need to write down that you felt nourished. This person was providing for you. Write that down, all of that, every single thing. You don't need to share this list with anyone but yourself. And then once you recognize what is it that you'd like to receive more of, try to see how you can provide that for yourself little by little each day. Because what you'll notice is that you can provide those things for yourself. There's people in your life who can also provide those elements for yourself as well. It's not always a person that you're attached to, it's those feelings that you're attached to, but those feelings are part of you. and you can always feel them again. So that's the first tip. Anything to add to that?
No.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. This next question is funny. Did you find me reasonable?
Yeah, I did find you.
What?
I do find you reasonable. I think the reason why we went on, because we did connect on we did connect on an emotional and personal level. I think we enjoyed each other's jokes and laughed, and we always had fun. I want to say, like, we always like made time to have fun. Like, we always made jokes. We had inside jokes with each other. So that's really what was one of the things that like really drew me to you, because you have a good energy and you were very fun. I did find you reasonable. Like, there weren't anything that was like so drastic that made me go, oh, like why? Like, why am I in this relationship now? I didn't find anything like that throughout the time that we were together. We always tried to compromise on certain things. I think we did compromise on the majority of our things that we did together. I can't really think of like any like super negative thing that we like clashed over, I would say.
Wow. I didn't think that you would say that I was reasonable. Thank you.
No, I do think you were reasonable throughout the relationship. Yeah. Did you think I was reasonable?
Yes.
Are you are you saying that because I said you were reasonable?
No, because I feel like I always have these really high expectations and demands, and you're super like go with the flow, chill.
Yes.
So that I feel like I'm just that you don't think I'm reasonable at all because I have these expectations.
No, I didn't really think that at all. A lot of the times that we were together, and one of the things that I really like appreciated with our relationship was like you love to cook, and cooking really wasn't my thing at the time. So like that's like one of the bonding things that we always do. Oh, let's cook something. Let's make dinner, and then you would always come up with something, and we would like cook together. And that's like what really got me to be like, okay, like this is really fun. Like this is really our alone time where we did something together that you really enjoyed, but I never really enjoyed in the beginning. But as the relationship went on, like you should know that I really like cooking with you now. So it was like really something that I learned. I was like, oh, okay, like something that like I didn't really like that you totally enjoyed was really something that helped us bond together. So even though I might have thought it was unreasonable, but I kind of grew into the fact that like, hey, like I really enjoyed this.
And I don't really like cooking now.
Really?
It depends. I don't like cooking because I have to. I like cooking because I want to. So yeah, I don't know. Here's a question. Why do people end up in abusive relationships? I have an answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because okay, I'm I'm wondering at like what level to give. I'm gonna give this answer from the high spiritual oneness level, and then I'm gonna give it from the personality ego level. I hope that's okay. It's gonna be okay. So we have these contracts with people that we set up before we embody on earth. So, for example, we have a contract, you and I, Randy, that says, you're going to teach me about XYZ. I'm going to teach you about XYZ. Abusive relationships are really helping helping you to love yourself more. Um, I speak from this from the heart because I was in an emotionally abusive relationship, which was super not fun. And that catapulted my spiritual awakening and helped me realize, why the hell am I allowing myself to be treated this way? What is it about myself that I hate about myself so much that I would continue and allow this to go on for so many years? And I feel like it's a really great mirror in showing you how you actually feel about yourself, and then allowing yourself to make those changes as a result. That's a really quick answer. We could go so deep into abusive relationships, and it's a very sensitive topic. And please, if you're in one.
I feel like for some people, not all people, I guess it really depends on the kind of relationship that you. It's really like how you were brought up and your surroundings, I would say. Like let's say a child grows up and sees like their parents always fighting and always like, you know, emotionally always attacking each other. They're gonna think like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. On an emotional level, like emotional abuse. I'm not gonna say everyone does that, but a lot of people who do see it that way do kind of, who are raised up to see it around them, is going to think, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. This is how people show their love. So for like emotional abuse, that's how I would say. Physical abuse is definitely much different. For some people, they say like, oh, this is how he shows he loves me, or this is how she shows he loves me, because it can go both ways. That one I never really understand, but then again, like I said, it's really like how you were brought up and like what you see as you grow up to know, to think like, oh, this is how someone shows that they love me. From the outside, you know, from inside looking out, it's very difficult to like separate the fact that that isn't love. I guess that's also on the point of like, oh, knowing what your love language is, kind of. You think?
A little, yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of see it that way. It really depends on like how, what your surrounding is and what you see as you grow up.
I agree that the relationships, the romantic relationships you pick definitely mirror the parental figures that you've had growing up. And so if you're used to receiving love a certain way, you seek that out from the people through the people that you're dating. From my perspective, it is all about how you receive love and how you see yourself as well. And from me growing up, I did not really perceive that type of emotional abuse growing up. So it's interesting. I think it can happen really to anyone, no matter how they're raised, and it's really a reflection of how someone views themselves as a person, and if they feel that they are worthy of love in general. So yeah, it's a deep discussion that like we could talk about it for an hour. It's, yeah. I feel like I should just have an episode about abusive relationships with a specialist who can help us with these questions. Let's jump into another one from the book. I'm going to skip a few to, was I emotionally unavailable or distant? You go.
Was that about myself or was it about you?
It could be about either, but I was asking about myself.
So if I ask the questions about myself, then if I was emotionally unavailable or distant, yes. I would definitely say yes. Like I said, I was very immature at the time. Um, I guess it was like my first real long-term relationship. Um, so I guess not having like prior long-term relationships beforehand. Like I had relationships before, but they weren't as long. They were like months. I think ours lasted like what I said years. So I guess using what I've had from prior relationships, it wasn't the best way to go about certain situations that we had together. Um, I definitely thought like, oh man, like why is she bothering me right now? Like if I was at work and like getting text messages from you, like oh like it's like not the best time to be doing such and such. But yes, for me, I would say yes. I was definitely emotionally unavailable because I always thought sometimes that oh this is a bother. And for me as well, like growing up, I kind of felt like I was more on the independent side. Like I like doing things like on my own and like being by myself. But that more became true to me because of like the friends I surrounded myself with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like a lot of my friends, like if we planned to do some things, they would end up flaking and like um, and just weren't around to do stuff with. So I just kind of like ended up depending more on myself. So if it was anything that I needed, like I would just go out and do it myself. If I needed to go somewhere, if I needed to do something to have fun, if my friends always flaked out, like okay, well I'm just going to depend on myself. So depending on myself really for a good amount of the time, kind of like well, I I don't really need anyone else. So it's just me. It's just going to be me, and I'll just do whatever I want for myself. So in a relationship, that's not really the thought process you should have. You know, it's supposed to be, oh, me and my significant other are going to go out and do some things together. Not to say we didn't do that, but throughout prior to getting into that relationship, I've always been about myself. So that's really something that I never really changed more or less during in the relationship. I would say, um, it's not. I'm not saying that it was like bad overall, but as I reflected over the years, I said, okay, well, you know, this was one of the main things as well. Like I was really more about myself and not about the relationship as a whole.
Um, Earth Goddess Wings is asking the real questions here. So she asked, this is related to what you just said. She asked what beliefs you both had that were mirrored to you and triggered you when you were together. So you were super independent, super independent. And
Yeah.
I was super codependent. I like when we first like started getting to know each other, I would always like message you and everything, and you were just so used to doing things on your own, like not wanting to rely on anyone,
Yeah.
not even emotionally, like you were just gonna do you at all times and not really even confide in each other very much, like that kind of thing. So
Yes.
yeah, and for me, like while you were super independent, I was super codependent and like just trying to, and whenever you would get into independent mode, I would try to like cling. So one second. That was super triggering for me. So like one example is like if we had plans to meet up one day and I would see you like log into PlayStation Network in the morning. You would tell me like, oh, I'll message you in the morning, like when I'm coming over, blah blah. And but then I'd see you log into PlayStation Network, and you were clearly awake, and I was like, why isn't he messaging me? It's the morning, like what the hell? And I get that like maybe you just needed alone time to decompress, whatever, after like a long week and stuff, and it's your day off. But like I I think I would have received that in a much better way if you were like, I'm up, I'm going to play some games for a few hours. I'll message you. I'll let you know when I'm like on my way or something like that.
Yeah. Just take the food up.
So that's an example of how we mirrored and triggered each other. Do you need to mute?
No, I'm good.
Can you think of another? Can you think of another example of how we triggered each other?
I don't really know.
Okay, I'll go on to the next question.
Sorry.
I'm skipping ahead a little. There are a lot of questions here, and I don't think we have time for all of them because I'm coughing, starting to cough a lot.
All right.
I feel like we covered some of these already. So, do you think I saw you for your highest potential?
I believe so. Well, at my highest potential, I definitely know you saw potential in me. You definitely did push me to do certain things. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know if it was my highest potential at the time. You definitely saw potential in me. I'm not sure. I wouldn't say if it was my highest potential because I don't know what my highest potential is at that time. But for you, I definitely did see really high potential in you because I always thought like you were really smart. Like you did a lot of you were. I think one of the things was that you were always working. You're always working. Like even when we were together, you're always like making sure things were correct with the
That
job.
doesn't sound very smart to me.
More for the fact that like the job that you were doing at the time, which was like analytics. I think you're still doing analytics, but at the time, like I was like, oh man, she's like really smart. She knows what she's doing. Like, I remember pushing you to get us when you were applying for a job. I was like, oh, like, well, yeah, definitely go for it because like I do see the potential in you to actually go for it and actually do it. I mean, that led to a lot of work, but I definitely saw potential in you. Was it your highest potential? I don't know.
So let's make this a little bit more personal because you're talking about highest potential in terms of career wise, but what about highest potential in terms of relationship, marriage, like whatever your end goal is, like what your goal is in terms of romantic relationship wise?
At the time or now?
At the time, I think. Whatever you want to answer.
At the time, I don't know. I think I'm more of a go with the flow type of person. So if it was something that like I saw potential in later on down the road, it wasn't really anything that like I planned for. Mm-hmm. It was definitely more for like it's really going and seeing how relationship grew together and the potential that we saw in each other. I never planned much far ahead of anything because like at the time I didn't really feel like there was much to plan for. I want to say, it was really just going along and like seeing like how it would end up because like I'm not sure like how it would work. That would say like oh this is it. Like, this is the moment that where, like, I know for a fact that we're going to live the rest of our lives together. Um, I don't feel like we ever hit that moment, I would say. Just quiet. No.
I'm letting you finish.
That was it. What about you?
Answer?
Huh?
I said, do you want me to answer?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the question again. Um, do you think I saw you for your highest potential? Yes, I feel like I did. Um, but like I was definitely very pushy. Like I feel like I bullied you into saying that you love me. I did. I felt like that was the only way to get you to say it at the same time. Like I felt like I'm super pushy, but if you're not pushed, you wouldn't have done anything about it. That's what I
The
feel like
only
it was.
Well, I think this might be one of the things where our communication wasn't as well. Because I definitely remember at the time, not too long after we started dating, uh, I remember calling my sister and like telling her all about you. Like, oh, she's so wonderful. And I remember like really not like offloading on her, but like really saying like, oh, like I really found someone that's like really makes me feel great about myself or really happy with how things were going. Um, that was like more, yeah, that was like in the beginning of the relationship. I don't really talk to other people about my relationships, but for me, I felt like for me to call my sister and like let her know was like it was something I want to say that was like that was definitely like out of the norm for me because like I said, I don't really talk about my feelings. I never really talk about my relationships with other people, but that time when I felt like I had to call her and like let her know, it was like, okay, like yeah, like this is something that I kind of do see going somewhere. um I wouldn't say you bullied me into saying I love you. I,
Okay.
I kind of makes it seem like, oh man, like you're emotionally abusive to be like, oh yeah, say you love me, yada, yada. I definitely didn't feel bullied into saying it. I will say that.
Okay, thanks. How did you feel then, if not bullied?
Like I said, I was going along with it. Like I kind of went with the flow. I did feel that like this how it's supposed to be.
I feel like sometimes I'm like a bulldozer, which is, all part of my essence, I guess. Do you think I'm a bulldozer?
Yes. I think this is like one of our inside jokes. But you would always, every time you were like really mad or upset, you always be like, can we talk? And like you would always like try to like take me out of the whole like situation and be like, oh, and I always be like, oh man, like it's one of her talks now. Like, oh man, like what did I do wrong? uh I remember you used to say that like at your job, like, oh, like when you had to talk to one of your coworkers, I'm like, oh man, your coworker got an Alanna Talk. Like, I can't believe it.
Oh, that's so funny. Did we call it Alanna Talk?
I never said it was, I never told you that it was Alanna Talk, but in my head, it was always like, oh man.
And the name of the show is Alanna Talk. That's why. Oh god. I'm I fully embrace the bulldozer energy in me now. Like, but I can be very gentle as well. It depends, you know. There's
Yeah,
all like an appropriate moment for each thing. There are times to be gentle. There are times to be really like to hit you over the head with a rock. It depends.
yeah. I guess my personality isn't really like that. I tend to take myself out of the situation if I feel like, oh, this is something I'm not comfortable with, so I'm just gonna leave it alone and like try to like disengage, just leave the situation. I'm pretty sure I've done that many times throughout the relationship. I was like, oh, like I don't really want to deal with this because it's like not something that I really like. So if it's something that I don't like, I always try to like disengage and just leave.
Like a hermit crab.
Yeah. I definitely live up to my Cancer sign.
Yes. So I'm surprised that like we were able to like be together for so long, because Sagittarius and Cancer are not compatible, because how Cancer is in terms of just like running into the shell whenever they feel pressured or anything like that, and Sagittarius is just like fire burning at all cylinders. So I think we did a good job.
Yeah. Like I said, I think it was like more like the stuff that we bonded over, like the fact that you enjoy playing video games with me as well, and then the fact that you like cooking, so that kind of brought me into the cooking space. So we both did like bond over mutual things, you know.
Does anyone have any other questions? Do you have any questions before we wrap?
I do not.
You don't know, or you don't?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So thank you, everyone. Oh, there's another question. How do you see yourself unfolding in the now in a transformation perspective? I am going to cough.
Okay, I'll answer first then. For me now, I've grown, like I said, in the last 2 years, I've really grown a lot more, learning about myself, and learning to like put myself out there. I still need to learn more to love myself. I think really loving myself more is really what will help me to like really break and do other things. Loving yourself is something easily said, but not done. I am trying to like, I would say, follow more people who deal with more like self love and like just treating yourself better. You know, like not always being a homebody, which I love. I still love being a homebody because I like to keep to myself. I like to be independent still, but putting myself out there and like really learning how to like deal with situations in a more not disengaging way, to actually like stay there and actually deal with what's going on. It's still difficult for me, I want to say, but it's really something that I've learned to manage more as I've continued to grow as a person.
That's a good one. For me, right now it's all about vulnerability for me. And I used to really just always like not pretending to be the strong one, but like just being the strong person in everyone's lives. And I think it's important for me to show my soft side too, and just be vulnerable and have these types of conversations in a public manner. And just so that people can see all sides of me. Usually I don't show that. So that's how I'm unfolding right now. And that's why I'm being more public too, because I'm super private. I will really, if I have any issues, I will talk it out like in my head. I'll like figure it out on my own, but I won't really confide in that many people in terms of like figuring it out and things like that. So that's why I wanted to have this type of program to just have these vulnerable moments and yeah, and to be silly and make a fool out of myself on YouTube Live.
Good for you. I mean, like, growing up and like I'm pretty sure like this is very difficult. Not like to like really put yourself out there. I definitely find it to be difficult for myself. So I want to say congrats on actually doing this. And like I do see you doing a lot more videos and like putting yourself out there. So good for you.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for doing this. I asked Randy, I'm like, do you want to be on my show? And he's like, okay.
I honestly didn't know. I didn't know if you were actually being truthful. I thought you were just like joking around with me.
I didn't know if I was being truthful either. And then I asked you, and then an idea, like something came up about like assessing each other, a relationship, and I was like, wow, this is really an idea. Okay. And we actually did it. So high five. Go us. Yeah. High five. What I want to do, like, we need to wrap soon, but I would like to do another video to talk more about breakups and getting over people. And that will probably be more of a channeling, and I'll do that later when I'm not coughing and getting over a virus. But if anyone wants to connect more about this, I have a private Facebook group. It's called Alanna Heavenly Community, and I'll link it below. And I'm also available for one-on-one sessions. I'm an intuitive soul coach and a spirit channel, and I do Reiki as well. And thank you so much, Randy, for joining us.
Thank you for having this conversation. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, I guess, I definitely feel like we kind of need to get it out because we never really talked about it afterwards, but.
Never, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like you said stuff that like I had never heard before. So thank you for sharing and being vulnerable with me.
You're welcome.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.